Welcome back to another episode of the We Grow Together podcast. I'm Laura DiFrancesco, your host, founder of 5 businesses, and I am a devoted reader. Literally tear through books, go through so many books. It is insane. And I have to say, I have probably a list of a good top 10 business books that I am beyond obsessed with. And Building a StoryBrand by Donald Miller is in possibly my top 3. It's up there. It is one of my favorite books that I have read in business, in entrepreneurship, because it is so influential. It is so helpful for you to understand how to position your business, how to think about your business, how to market your business. I've also read his books, Business Made Simple, Marketing Made Simple, and now there's a Building a StoryBrand 2.0 that I really want to read. So I would encourage you, if you have not yet read Building a StoryBrand by Donald Miller, you should. I'm going to include in this episode a little bit of a cliff notes of the takeaways from Building a StoryBrand. I'm also going to share about how I've implemented it into my 5 businesses. I have a co-working and event space, Flourish Westchester, here in Westchester, Pennsylvania, a farm with Airbnbs, and I have a corporate law firm which specializes in entrepreneurship through acquisition, mergers and acquisitions, buying and selling businesses, contracts, corporate governance, those types of things. And then I also have an educational platform and publishing arm where we are publishing Entrepreneurship Through Acquisition, a legal guide to buying a small business. The link is in the show notes. We also have real estate company with real estate holdings. So I am booked and busy gal with all of my businesses. And I find that the premise of building a story brand has been integral to how we market each and every one of them. And they are so different in so many different ways. They have different clients, they have different communication styles, different voice, different marketing objectives, all of these things. And yet this is the one constant between all of them. With that said, let me share a little bit about why the storytelling element is so important to branding. So one of the reasons why this really was attractive to me and that I feel like it resonated with me so much is because I'm an avid reader, love books, and I can tell you I am hooked on stories. And it's something that I've learned so much about. I read about 75 plus books a year. In addition to that, I'm a writer as well. I've written my book that I'm publishing, as well as in the process of 7 others that I have at different stages of writing and publishing. And with that, I have studied a lot about storytelling. I've studied how it works with your brain, how evolution has impacted storytelling, and how it becomes so memorable because stories are something that has taken us through evolution tens of thousands of years ago and taken learnings that we've needed and values and cultures throughout the millennia. So to me, it makes so much sense why you would take the essence of life here on earth and the storytelling and how that deeply influences us as a culture and people and humanity as a whole, and take what science is already so deeply ingrained in people, what people are already so wired to absorb, and use that to your benefit in business in a non-manipulative, really amazing way. I think as entrepreneurs, sometimes marketing can feel really challenging because it can feel like it's so salesy and out to the masses and we're just echoing into this void. But I really see marketing as a way to tell your story, as a way to have an impact on the world and share all the good things that you're doing. You're pouring your life and energy and resources and money into a business that means a lot to you. And so what is the best way to market your business other than being a good storyteller? And so that to me is why it's so important to understand storytelling in building a brand's identity, in building your brand's overall, your voice, your tone, your graphics, your imagery, your art direction, sounds, the whole ethos of your entire brand weaving in storytelling to make that so three-dimensional, so four-dimensional, and something that people could feel themselves walking into means that you become this magnet for your ideal audience, for your customers, that you are able to communicate the things that you want and attract the people that you want, whether that be talent or people, team members, whatever the case may be. So I think that when you get down to the heart of building a story brand, storytelling, building your brand overall, why is a particular story so successful? Because it resonates, because it's memorable, because it makes you stand out and it makes someone connect with you. So those are the elements that I feel Donald Miller does a fantastic job in his book, Building a Story Brand 2.0, in sharing how you can do that yourself through your business, through your marketing team. For me, for a long time, it's been not only required reading for me, but everybody in my marketing department. And I oftentimes send like little snippets or little ideas to my team members of different ideas and aspects of this and different teachings and lessons. So on Fridays, sometimes I like to share as much as I can, just a little learning across the entire enterprise. And a lot of them have to do with this. We just did our book landing page for the Entrepreneurship Through Acquisition, a legal guide to buying a small business. When we did that, everybody that was working on the website, I said, here is an explanation of what a Building a Story Brand website looks like, how you can easily navigate it, all these things. So there's a lot of tactical aspects to the book itself, as well as a really good message. I feel like this book specifically not just shares this message. I'm going to go over like the key cliff notes if you needed them, but I encourage you to pick up the book, which is linked in the show notes, because it talks about how to structure a website, how to do the tactical aspects of taking that story brand through the actual marketing tasks within your business. So I encourage you to read it. Here's the cliff notes overall. When I was starting my business, I needed a place to create, a place that filled me from the inside out, somewhere that inspired me, helped me make content, a place where I could go to get good work done and host events, gather in community, celebrate one another, host family and friends for gatherings. So I created Flourish Co-working Space in Westchester, Pennsylvania. It's a space that nourishes you from the inside out. It's lush, inspiring environment with hundreds of plants to make you feel like your best self so that you can do your best work and gather in community in a way that's casual, inviting, and just incredible. I hope you check it out. If you need a co-working or event space in Westchester, PA, be sure to visit us and book your co-working or event today. How do you define your brand's unique story? A great way to be memorable is going to actually be the guide within the story. So imagine you're taking someone on a hero's journey and you have the hero, the protagonist, which is your customer or something like that. And then you have their challenges, which are their conflicts. And then you are the sage, wise one with the wisdom that is going to share what they need to be able to help them along in their journey. So it's all about using the hero's journey, which is a very long time tested writing tool in fiction and fantasy, all of those things, to show how to navigate an area of life or whatnot. And so when you're thinking of your customer and their conflicts and their challenges and what they're experiencing, you position your business as their guide, which I think is a really great way to use narration and narrative and storytelling in a way that is going to connect you with your customer, show the value of your business, and be very adaptable from business to business. This works for the corporate law firm. It works for the co-working and event space. It's very easy to implement. So when you're thinking of building that narrative and building your story, some things that you can think about are what inspired your brand, what made you want to go out and do this specifically, what problem does your brand solve? Does your company solve? And then who are the people behind it? Not just saying this is a bland company, but really highlighting the people behind it. Sometimes that's the founders. Sometimes that's the overall culture and community of the people that you have. Your customers feel like they know who they're doing business with. That's the goal here, is to build a relationship, to build a community, and communities thrive from storytelling. And then how you present that story in a way that makes you stand out from your competitors and remain authentic is ultimately going to be rich with details of building know, like, and trust factors with your customer base and with the overall community. So when you're thinking about building know, like, and trust, you're positioning yourself as a guide, but it's not staunchly, even on the legal side, it's not just staunchly boring business. It is humanized. It is sharing troubles and sharing what you've overcome and how you've gotten there and why these things are important to you. So when you're thinking of building your narrative overall, reach deeper and think of telling a story. Is the story that you're telling something that people around the fire would want to hear? Or is it boring as hell? If it's boring as hell, you need to revisit your brand story and find something that is going to resonate and be memorable and that uses those characteristics of the protagonist, your guide, your conflict to really make something memorable. And then doing it in a way that is, of course, authentic. It can't be something where you're just pulling random things or random values. It really needs to be true to you, and it should be something that you could value check against everything that you do in your business and say, if they were to say that this is absolutely true, do they see that reflected in how I deliver my goods or services? Do they see that in how I treat my employees? Do they see that in how I show up online? All of these values need to be authentic. I feel like our customer base is so sophisticated right now in so many ways. They're educated, they are skeptical. It's a highly competitive environment right now, and you do not have time to not be authentic. That's like the key and highlight of the culture today, especially with all the things like cancel culture and whatnot, which I'm not a proponent of. So how do you implement the building a story brand framework in your marketing strategy? First off, I think it's really important to understand your messaging, your voice, your overall branding, and how that communicates. Of course, your story is a big part of that, but your story you can bring to life through all of those other different brand elements. And then how are you using this to tell a story on your social media, to tell a story on your email newsletter, to tell a story on your website? How are you able to then return to this framework whenever you're working on something marketing wise and saying, am I doing the best that I could here to tell a story? I'm doing the book launch and everything, and I'm looking at my opt-in emails and thinking, okay, I'm telling them what's valuable. I'm telling them why they should care, but it's boring as hell. I need to build it up and enrich it with a story. So I sprinkled throughout stories of my story, stories of clients I've worked with, stories of our business, stories of how we got here, stories of why I wrote the book. And it enriches it so much more. It pulls people in. There's so many demands on everybody's attention. If it's boring, it's going to be forgotten. It's not going to be opened, and it's going to be all of the hard work that you're putting into your marketing and everything that you're doing is just going to be for naught. And I always like to think of getting the maximum return on investment for everything that I do in my business, whether it be marketing or legal or anything like that. If I'm going to put up a post on social media, it better be done well, because I don't want to waste my time doing something and then it not even performing well. That's why you have to think of how are you going to build your story into all the different things that you do, create a community, and ultimately thrive as a business as a result of this specifically. So you tell a story through all of those different mediums, your website copy, your social media, your advertising, your visuals, everything, your art direction. And then how specifically does storytelling differ from selling? So for me, being salesy has never been very attractive. I think there's a lot of companies that do it. a lot of companies that don't do it well, and a very few select group of people that do it well. For me, people that do it well are people that I see sharing their story, sharing something of interest to me, not just hitting me over the head of like all the different reasons why they're important, all about them. No, it needs to be about your customer. It needs to be about why you're relevant to your customer, how you can effectuate change in their life, how you are supporting them, and being that environment that the customer wants to put themselves in. So, I think sales is all about the company, or ask, take the next step with me, do this next thing. Whereas I feel like storytelling is more like, hey, we're here, we exist, this is what we do, we support you. If you're interested in this, explore more. Here's how you can do it. But it's less showy, more supportive, in my opinion, specifically. And then how do you align your brand story with your values? To me, your values are woven into your brand story, and it's a two-way street. You're interviewing customers are interviewing you. You're always feeling who's vibing with who. And so when your brand story tells your values, you're going to attract the customers you want. So when you sprinkle it in, it's going to be attracting the people that you want. And quietly, I don't believe in the type of marketing that is divisive, but I do think that when you're clear about your values and clear in your communications and expectations, you ultimately will detract people that aren't going to fit you and your brand and your company and your values. So I hope this has been fun. If you enjoyed this recap, lessons learned, how we implement it into our business type of video, especially about the business books, which I love and I'm obsessed with, let me know. I would love to cover more books. I can share more about what's in my top 10. You could also check out our Wild Ambition book club. We do have seasonal episodes. We have one coming up for spring about our favorite reads for these times of years. And we always go through a business book, a fictional book, a classic, and have tons of different variety in it. So if you're curious about all the different 75 books a year that I read and that I enjoy, you can check those out. They're on all different types of topics and interests. Thank you so much for joining us. It would mean the absolute world to me if you subscribed and leave us a 5-star review. There are so many more topics on this and many more topics of entrepreneurship and lifestyle design. Leave us a comment, leave us a thumbs up. Let us know what would you like to see in the next episode, and I look forward to seeing you there. Be sure to tag us and share on social media at Laura M. DiFrancesco, at Flourish Westchester. Cheers and happy entrepreneurship.